So hi, I'm Anner. I'm the token Belgian tonight, it seems. Thanks for the introduction, Peter. So I am co-founder of BeyondIO. As Peter said, we call ourselves a design and research lab, and we design concepts that have both a digital and a physical part. Often our work goes into the Internet of Things world that we just talked about. But the thing that I want to talk to you about today is not the standard Internet of Things thing. It's an internal project. Actually, it is part of our foundation of the company, and it really defines the way that we are working now. And I'll be mostly talking about the why first, and then afterwards in the questions we can get all techie and get into the details. But I'll talk about the idea and the concept first and how it came to be. So, first, time machine. We go back in time to 2012. Both Kevin and I, both founders of BeyondIO, we had very luxurious, nice jobs in the UX world. But we have been talking about starting our own business for ages since we were studying together, and we had to take a leap of faith and make a gamble. And we decided actually to do a test run and try a project that would showcase how we would do our work later if we would found a company together that would do the stuff that we really wanted to do instead of the stuff that we were doing at the moment, which wasn't that much fun. So we chose a context to work in because it was really something that was dear to our hearts, and that was music. And we picked music because music is something very powerful, it's emotional, it's very personal, and how you experience music is something that is really specific and unique to yourself. It's linked with memories, it's linked with your social background or your education or personal preference. For some people, even the music is something that defines them as a person. For example, everybody, it's very strong, everybody remembers the first record they bought, of course, if you ever bought a record. So the starting point for 12 was exactly this. How do people experience discovering and sharing music these days? Because nowadays, everything is available all the time, and that kind of makes the experiencing music and sharing music a bit impersonal, sometimes even a bit antisocial, we think. That was our personal opinion as a designer. It's very quick. There is no more joy of discovering. You don't really have to search anymore. It's enough to click a link that you got from somebody in an email or in a chat message, and you can listen, bam. And the experience of sharing this digital music has become very individual. So we wanted to change that, and even if you encounter music these days that you don't know, the answer is only 7 seconds away. You take your phone, unlock it, Shazam it, or you Google the lyrics or this and that, and you know it. You don't have to look for it anymore. So we wanted to change that, and we really wanted to change the experience of discovering music. And we did that by reintroducing some elements of exclusivity, scarcity, and most of all some personal one-to-one contact. And to do that, we used a metaphor, which we often do. And the metaphor we used, we wanted that discovering music was once again like getting a mixtape from a loved one. So that's what our goal was with 12. So, this is it. It's quite underwhelming, but I'll explain you first how it came to be. We made the very first prototype of 12 during a 3-week summer camp in New York City in 2012. It was very quick. We did a lot of iterations. We did the hardware and the software at the same time. And at the end, we had a very basic version that worked with a USB connection in a computer. And good, we did that. Then we started our company. Then a year later, we decided that it was a really, if we showed this to potential clients, they really liked it. It's like, oh, you should continue with that. There is a lot of value in it. So we decided, okay, good. We are going to make it the way it ought to be. And that means we needed to make a version that was on your mobile phone. And so we ended up with the final version, so the one I just showed you. Right, so 12. Let's imagine that I think you're a person that's dear to me, and I say like, hey, here, I want you to have this. It's an object. It looks kind of like a half tape from the 80s. And I tell you to use it, to discover it, you have to download the app, the 12 app. And then you need to activate it. And to activate it, that means that you activate it. Like, if you're old, you know how this works. And then a little LED goes on, and then you know you can discover it. So you tap your phone to it, and you discover the contents of the tape. And why is 12 called 12? That is because there are always 12 tracks on this object. And it's not only a music track, it's a combination of, you can see it here, a music track, an image, and the location where that track was added to this object. It also has the time, the location and the time when this was added. And you, as the receiver of this tape, you have the unique opportunity to add one of those combinations to the tape. So there's 11 spots filled, and there's one empty, which you can add onto. And if you do that, you are supposed to pass on this object, this physical object, onto the next person, which then, again, has the opportunity to add one more track, which makes the last one drop off, and there goes one in on the top and continues, which means that you have an ever-updating 12-track playlist every time a new person gets this physical object in the real world. See? And of course, you can have multiple tapes in your collection. So, what are the key concepts that we introduced in 12? There's one, this purposeful limitations. You can only add one track, you as a person, and then you have to pass on the object. And you have to be face-to-face and tell the story of the object. So like I just did to you, you have to give people a briefing to know what to do with this object. And maybe that briefing can change from person to person, and the meaning of this exchange of object can change from person to person. It's slow, it's really slow. You have to give it to somebody, and it can travel long distances. And also, if it can take a while for the object to go from one person to the other, and so for you, the people that are in the loop of the tape, to get a new track added to the tape. But and we did a lot of effort on this, it's a desirable object. It's nice, the finishing is, we think, very good. It looks like something you want to have and maybe even want to keep, but then you have to pass it on, I don't know. It's completely anonymous, so there is no personal identification whatsoever. You have no idea who the person is before the person that gave it to you, unless they tell you, of course. But still, it uses all of the power of the digital. It works with the streaming services that provide all the music that we use on our computers or our phones and everything, so it taps into that, but it doesn't show it. So what does this mean? What's the effect, or what did we observe? Because we made this. People put a lot of value in discovering music in this way, and a lot more value in the content that is in this way, because it's a unique, it's something that doesn't happen that much. And there are a lot of degrees of freedom in the use of this, of 12. We didn't prescribe any use. It can go in a group of people. It can go back and forth, back and forth. It can just go off into the world, never to be seen again. And because that was the difference between the first version and the second version, we made sure that it was available on the mobile. It's probably the object that you touch the most during the day. So it can also be very close to the user. And yeah, it's surprising. You never know when other people will be adding things to the list and where the object will pop up next. So how was 12 appreciated? Because we made a lot of these. Well, a lot. We made a few of these by hand. It's really. We tested it, but we don't really know because testing was hard. First of all, we didn't have that much hardware. Second of all, since we didn't have a real app, it wasn't in the App Store, and the onboarding was very difficult because we had to tell people, oh, here's this nice thing, oh, it's really cool, this and that, and okay, and you have to download the app. No, it's not on the App Store. You have to go to this site and then download it and then say agree and then trust us and this and that. So that's really, yeah, it was complicated. It was, I think, 1.5 years ago. I think Apple has solved a lot of those problems, and things could be considerably easier now. But we did, yeah. We had to test it in the wild. So we had to get it out there, and the hardware was quite valuable, so we lost some tapes, and that was it. We never saw them again, so I have no idea what happened with it. But we got a lot of good feedback from people. We generated some buzz. We were in the magazines. There were people that wanted this. There were actually other people that demanded this, and that they were ready to give money and stuff. But yeah. But now what? We originally built 12 as a showcase for our company, and I think that worked very well because it showed everything that we can do from the ID all the way to the hardware prototyping, the marketing, the app, the blah, blah, blah. But we never did this with a business model in mind, and it shows. 12, it cannot be commercially viable because somewhere down the road somebody has to pay for the content of the music. The artists need to need to earn some money, and then that. Because we had some buzz and we had some contacts in the music business and everything, we were in contact with people like Spotify, but Spotify doesn't care about this. They just want to sell subscriptions. And on the other hand, there were music labels. They were very interested in, oh yeah, it's good for promotion of new bands, but then you can only put our band on it, and then it just becomes like a glorified promo cassette thing. So it wasn't very good. And we didn't want to give into it, so the freedom the user gets and the seamlessness is essential to 12. So one day we sat down and we had a long talk, and we said, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue with this and get some money and become a startup? Or are we going to continue as a studio and just do the things that we do and have many different projects and enjoy ourselves that way? And then so we decided, just let's put it on the shelf and keep it as a nice case. And that was what happened.
Thank you.
Oh.